was a record year for organ donors in Nebraska. Live On Nebraska says a record 323 organs were transplanted last year from 103 donors. The organization says the number of lives saved helps honor people who gave an immeasurable gift. Live On Nebraska says there are currently 300 people in the state waiting for a transplant. Anyone 16 and older can register to be an organ donor in Nebraska. We have a link to sign up on our website, WWT.com.